And welcome to another episode of Ask Alan Anything. With our episode today is the last time we will be at 8 p.m. Central. We are moving the show to noon on Wednesdays so that more people can participate during their lunch hour and hopefully learn something new that will help guide them through the rest of the week with their publishing and or marketing of their books. So, as always, please feel free to enter your questions. You can send them ahead of time or do it live. Through Twitter or any other form that we have. We'll have them down the screen. But you can email the questions to bourgeoismedia@outlook.com. So today we're going to be talking about a few things. At the end of May, the last week of May was the Book Expo, which is a big publishing program that is designed mostly for the larger publishers. It's a way of them getting out there and saying, hey, these are the new books coming out. These are things that are happening for the book industry, all that fun stuff. For a couple of years, they were going back and forth between New York and Chicago, but they're pretty much staying back in New York where most people want them because New York feels they are the publishing world headquarters and stuff. And that's not necessarily the case and it hasn't been for a long time. And that's actually something that they're starting to realize as well. Is one of the things that was discussed during the conference was the fact that they can no longer afford to really be in the big expensive cities, that they're actually going to have to start moving out of New York, out of larger towns, even Austin, LA, Chicago, to go to smaller towns where it's more cost effective to be, simply because of the cost of publishing. While print on the paper and other things, the marketing, all that stuff still continues to rise, that cuts into their profit because consumers are stuck at paying for inexpensive books or to get the books at the lowest possible price, which I fully understand. I'm not a rich man. I need to buy things as cost effectively as I can. So there is that aspect for the big publishers as well as the small independent publishers and also for the self-published authors. How do you balance both the economics of rising prices with the fact that books, retail prices are not rising? And because of the competitiveness, they have to actually reduce the retail price in order to get the sales. Amazon has definitely cornered the market and can alternate the price of a book at any given time. They don't really give a shit, to be honest, what people pay. It's all about getting the money out of people. So they will cut and hurt the authors and the publishers by selling at a lower rate. They've already got their big discount at 50% off the retail price anyway, so they have a wide margin that they can play with to sell books and stuff. Unfortunately, the small publishers, the independent bookstores, the independent authors, they don't have that margin. So when consumers buy the books from Amazon at a lower rate, then those that are publishing, the smaller people, they're not making their money. They're actually losing money because of Amazon. So from my perspective, yes, like I said, I'm not a rich man, and I do encourage people to be fair, getting a fair price, but look at where you're buying the books. Support the bookstores, support the independent publishers, support the independent authors, support the smaller online web stores that have books. They may not be the cheapest price, but you're supporting people and money is flowing back into the economy in a much greater way. And it's not being spent on spaceships going to Mars or to the moon or to the space station or any number of things that Amazon has decided that they want to invest in over the years. The reality is they're not paying their employees enough. They're not paying the people that are selling their products to them enough, and it's hurting the economy in the long run. The only one who's really succeeding is Bezos and the people that work in Amazon in the upper echelons, not the lower parts. So when you're considering buying a book, really consider where you're buying the book from. You do not want to really feed a monster. You want to be able to make sure the money's being spread out and helping people where they really need it. Okay, so I didn't mean to go off on a tangent on that, but I do want to make sure people understand that the books, the publishers, all of those people are understanding that they do need to get outside of the big expensive cities in order to cut their costs and to start saving money. And that doesn't mean all the editors and everybody that works for them is going to move. A lot of them will remain. A lot of the publishers are looking at the telecommunications aspect for having employees anywhere and everywhere, so that they can still do their job wherever they want to, like I do from my home. A lot of other employees will do the same for the big publishing houses. So another thing that was made clear in the Book Expo is the diversity that the publishers are now doing. They're getting out of the typical type of writers that you've seen and really making sure they're getting people of color, different languages, different story concepts involved in the publishing, which is great. We need the diversity. We need everybody's stories to be told, because as a society, it's the only way we're going to be able to grow is from learning from other people, what they've experienced, what their thoughts are, what their ways of life are. You don't have to agree with it, but it's good to know it, to understand it. And that is something that the publishing world has been slow to do. And that's why you have so many independent publishers, because they are on top of that. They've been on top of that. They have been doing the women's only stories, or the women's only poetry, or the gay community, or the Let's Buy Gay, which includes gays and transgenders, lesbians, all of that. All of the diversity is so important, and the big publishing houses are beginning to realize that. And also, they're also still seeing the financial aspect coming from the concept that it's not just old white people on YouTube. You have people on YouTube and transgenders and all those that are people of color, people of different ages. So it comes from a lot of different aspects, and the publishing world gets it, understands it, or at least has a better understanding of it and is now moving towards that. Another thing is publishers are becoming more community driven. By that, that means ways to connect with readers beyond the page. In other words, Reddit, Wattpad, a whole bunch of different ways of connecting with readers to do it. We're doing that ourselves through our We Fiction contest, where we're teaming up authors to write stories in a short, limited space and getting the readers involved in a different way of finding new talent, and also to create new stories, because they get to be in control. They get to create the plots, the storylines, the locations, the characters. They get to put themselves in the stories if they want to, while helping raise money for literacy. So it's a win-win on all three levels, and you get the literacy nonprofits working, you get the readers involved, and you get the authors to challenge themselves. So publishers are looking at different ways of doing it. Nonprofits like my own are looking at different ways of doing it. So that's a great aspect. So definitely consider and watch for more things to develop and grow. I'm using my hands a lot today. Sorry about that. Publishers will use data to guide their thinking, which is nothing new. They've been very much metadata driven. They want to know who's buying their books. They want to know the age, the sex, what income level. All these different things have always directed them into how they publish certain books and stuff. Even with the arts and stuff, they're listening more to how people are responding to the first edition. Okay, do we need to remarket it? Do we need to refocus how we market it? Do we need to redo the cover? All those little things that arts and reviewers provide is critical. And that's something a lot of indie authors don't get. They think that once they've written their story, they've gone through all the editing and different types of editing and proofreading and all that stuff that they're done. In reality, that's not it. There's so much more for them to do that they need to understand that. And through our organization, we continuously teach that. If you get a chance to go to the Authors Marketing event that's held every year at the end of July, definitely do so, because you learn a lot more. You can also do their campus, their online campus, where you can watch all the videos over the last 4 years, so that you can learn from the professionals and be able to understand how to better market and sell yourself. It's so important. Arts are really important. We'll be talking about that in our organization more, so that people can stay on top of that and make sure they have a better book to put out there and stuff. Different types of content goes back to the different types of diversity that they're doing as well and stuff like that. So those are the pretty much key aspects of what is happening, the future of publishing over the next 5 years and stuff. Another thing I want to talk about, which was really great to see that they had a conference talking about this. And again, this is something my organizations have been teaching, my books have been teaching, my classes have been teaching, is that publicity campaigns need to start 6 months ahead of a launch. Now, you have, and I know if you've been watching other shows, I've said this before, and I need to keep saying it because people just are not fully understanding. When you've written a book, you've gone through all your edits, all your processing, all the designs, the layouts, the graphics, the editors, all of this stuff. That's just part of the book. That's 10% of what's still ahead of you. You still have 90% of a lot of work ahead of you. Not to scare you off, because it can be fun, it can be challenging, but it's not just about writing the book, okay? So we tell people that the moment they start writing a book is the moment they should start marketing it. And there's a lot of reasons for it, to build the buzz. But ideally, you want to do it 6 months before the official release. Now, again, all those people have gone through and done their editing and all that stuff. They think their book is ready to go. That's really edition number 1, which would really considered as the advanced reader's copy, which I mentioned earlier, the ARC. That is what you want to use to get your reviews. That's what you want to use to start getting the promotion and the publicity about the book out there. That's what you want to use to get the interviews scheduled. Get it all going at least 6 months before. And there's time periods where we're going to discuss that a little bit more detail here, so that people map things out. The publishers have been doing these for years, and that's why they're successful. And the indie authors need to understand that you need to do it as well. The small press need to understand it as well. So here's a rundown for starting at 6 months, okay? Make sure your website's up and running, okay? Brainstorm ideas and craft of the publicity plan, okay? The website, of course, has to have your bio, has to have a sample chapter, has to have a cover, all of those things to start making sure when you're talking about the book, they have something to go to learn more about the book, to be able to start the pre-orders, all of that information. And about 5 months before the book is officially released, develop your press kit, your media pitches. A 1-page book media kit is all you need. It's very simple stuff. We have classes on that, so definitely check them out. Again, the Authors Marketing event is a great event to do. Pull together your media list. In other words, who are you sending your arts to? What reviewers, what bloggers, all those people you need to figure out, okay? Then start with the blubs, and, getting the authors to talk about it, and other authors and the reviewers and all that stuff. At about 4 months, you've got your arcs out there. You've got them to the magazines, to the reviewers. First, make sure you always do your reviewers first. Make sure you get some good, solid reviewers. And no, Amazon does not count for reviews. Yes, it may count for the reviewers, the book buyers, the individual people that look at a book and say, okay, this book has an average 4 out of 5 stars, or 5 stars, or 4 stars, or whatever it is. Yeah, that does help to a certain extent, but it's a limited extent. Even as big as Amazon sells books, it's still very limited. You need to have the press. You need to have bloggers talking about it. You need to make sure all that's in line, so that when you do go after these magazines, morning shows, the radio shows, all of those things, you have something to back the book up with, okay? You can say, Kirkus, Library Journal, the Publishers Weekly, they said this, this, and this about my book. And here's, quotes, and here's the information. The reviewer, the TV guests or hosts, and the radio hosts, they want to know that that has been vetted. They want to know it is a valid book worth reading. They're not going to want to promote a crappy book because it makes them look bad. So you need to make sure you have that in line and set up, okay? Schedule your book signings and appearances. Make sure you map it out across the U.S. or across the world, whatever you want to do. But lay it out there. figure it out. Make sure you can schedule accordingly and that you move through the country so that you're not backtracking too much. In other words, you don't want to be in New York one day, LA the next, and then have to fly back to the East Coast the next. You're going to get exhausted super fast, so try to schedule everything in one area. That's why if you watch like Good Morning America and Kelly, you'll see the same people on the same day. Or even on The View, you might see the same person from that same day, because they're scheduling them all together so that they don't have to fly back and forth so much, okay? All right, so 3 months prior to, you want to make sure you follow up on long media. Make sure you've done all the media aspects, you have everything laid out, you've talked to them, you've got it all done, all the shows are scheduled, or you've recorded them and you've got them on your website. So you're following up again, you're adding that media list as seen on TV with such and such, such and such, and such and such, and such and such. In other words, that's part of your media kit so that you can be promoting to the bookstores so that they have something to see and to validate that the book is worth it, okay? You've got to make sure the bookstores have your book media kit. Again, a one-pager is good. A two-pager is fine as long as it has the list of credits of where you're scheduled to appear in that market. So in other words, say you're in Houston and you're doing Good Morning Houston, and you want to make sure you have a book signing scheduled that day at a local store so that you can tell them, hey, I'm going to be at such and such store here in Houston later in the afternoon or tomorrow or in the next couple of days, so that people who find you interesting and find your book of interest can go and check it out, get that copy, and promote it. Bookstores are going to appreciate you promoting them and promoting the book signings. That helps their bottom line, and that's so critical. Again, it's showing support for those indie bookstores, the small bookstores, the indie presses, etc. By promoting where you're going to be, whether it's on your website or in media blogs or whatever, that helps everybody, okay? And there are a lot of buyers who would love to go in and meet the author in person. So definitely consider that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket with Amazon because you're losing money there. So you don't want to do that. You want to spread out. You want to build your following and make sure people understand. Excuse me there. Okay. Work with some blogs. Get some blogs out that relate to your book. Get some editorials out that relate to your book. Get it into the media in other ways so that you can continue to build up the press, build up the interest. You want to be doing that not only before, but during and shortly after, and even within 6 months after. You know, keep an eye on the news. How does your book relate to the news? Or is there a TV show coming out that's similar to your book? Whatever it is, you want to tie in as much as you possibly can so that people grow and learn about you and your books, okay? All right, so now we're down to 2 months. You've got all your radio shows scheduled, you've got your interviews scheduled, you've talked to the online book reviewers, the bloggers specifically, Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, and all those type of reviewers. You have to do that months in advance. But your local bloggers, you can easily schedule them within a couple months of the book coming out and stuff, building the hype and things of that nature. Make sure all that's lined up. You've got it done. You're working on the smaller people or the smaller presses, making sure all the interviews and everything's set up. You've got your schedule already laid out. So you know you're going to be in Seattle on one day, and then Portland, and then you go down to LA. You can map out the individual bookstores. You can map out the individual articles in the local papers, or find the bloggers in that area, or find whoever to make those personal contacts, to thank them for their help or whatever, because you want to keep following up. You want to build your audience, and the best way to do it is to get the word out there. All right, so you're down to your last month. You've gotten the reviews back, you've gotten comments back, you need to make changes to your book. You can do that in the last month before it gets set to be printed out, printed in large quantities or ready for sale. You have that time period between 2 to 1 months where you can make all those corrections, make all those adjustments, so that when it's ready to be released, you've got it all done. It's up on the website with either a new cover or a new edition or whatever it is that you needed to do to fix it to make it more presentable. You've done that. That's why I say, 6 months earlier or 4 months earlier, you think you're done. In reality, you're not. You're learning from your buyers, you're learning from your reviewers, you're learning from the bloggers what you need to, how to readjust your sales, your marketing program, or if you need to change the book in the last inning because so many people hated the ending, or whatever it is. You've learned before the big release so that you're able to then go ahead and put it out there in a better quality book. Yes, it's going to cost you to reprint. Yes, it's going to cost you to redo the graphics or whatever. But if it means better sales in the long run, it's worth the extra money. Okay? So you've got the arcs all followed up. You've made all the changes. You've gone through all the reviews. You've thanked everybody. You've got all set up. You've promoting the hell out of your pre-sale, which is usually a week to 2 weeks before the official release. You've got all the buzz going. Don't sit on your ass and think, okay, I'm going to be rich. No, you need to follow up. You need to make sure everything's still going. You need to make sure everything's still smooth and easy and moving forward in the right direction. For some of the people that you were not able to connect with to do an interview before the book launch, see if you can do it after. See how your sales are going. Your pre-sales. Are you going to be able to do really good and follow up with more interviews, more press, more marketing to keep the momentum going after the release? Your book is good for 6 weeks to 6 months, depending on how much publicity it's getting, how much word of mouth it's getting. All of that is critical information. So definitely look at that and make sure you're doing the right things, okay? Let's see. There are some other things we're going to talk about in next week's. Again, going over the marks, but we're going to be talking also about how to do goodie bags, okay? And in other words, getting the arcs and promotional material together so that it looks really appetizing and appealing. Appetizing, maybe not the right word, but appealing is a good word to the people who are receiving the arcs so that they can use it. We're going to be talking about that next week, so definitely want to watch. Again, the show has moved from 8 p.m. Central to noon on Wednesdays. It is a live show at that time, so you feel free to send questions in advance at bourgeoismedia@outlook.com. Don't hesitate to tweet me. I'm at @BAlanBourgeois. I'll have it on the screen. My Instagram, my Facebook, all of those things that are critical to making people know you're out there. Don't hesitate to use them to reach out to me. We are here. I am here to help you. My organizations are here to help you. We're not a money organization where it's all about the money and ripping you off and everything. That's not what we do. I live a very comfortable, satisfactory life. I'm here to help authors. That's why I do the show. I don't get paid for it. There's no other commercials other than my own, talking about my book. It's all about you. We are launching a patron funding program so that we can continue to do this. So watch out for that. We'll have it on the website later and also on videos as well later and stuff like that. So we are available on Amazon Fire TV. We are on YouTube. We are on Indian Beacon Radio's page on Facebook. We're on Spreaker. We're on SoundCloud. We're all over the place. So don't hesitate to reach out and listen to the shows. If you're driving home from work and you just need to get off of the thought of the traffic, not too far off because you still want to pay attention, but need to learn things in a comfortable way, feel free to listen to the shows, ask the questions. I'm here to help. With that, I want to thank you very much for being with us today. Have a great day.
Authors, do you know the true cost of being published? In the Author's Revolution Workbook, B. Alan Bourgeois gives you hands-on tools to use and to understand the true cost of being published. He will also give you information about low-cost or free programs that are designed to help you market your book. B. Alan Bourgeois has been helping hundreds of authors since 2011, educating them on how to better market and sell their books. Buy the Author's Revolution Workbook exclusively at indielector.store